Hey, what's up guys? BJ Dell back with an all new weekly art challenge review video. If you guys are new to the channel, I think there's a lot of you lately just because YouTube featured my channel on the trending page the other day as a creator on the rise. I know we got a bunch of new subscribers to the channel. So number one, welcome. But if you are new, just to explain these videos, basically every week I do one of these videos, give you guys a weekly art challenge prompt of the week. Then you draw a design based on that prompt and you post it online. I'm going to tell you at the end of the video how you can get it to me and how you can share it with the community. But then the following week, take the designs, pick out a handful, and do one of these review videos. So that's what you're watching today. Last week's phrase was bring an inanimate object to life. So let's see what you guys came up with. Alright guys, let's go ahead and jump into the video this week, bringing an inanimate object to life. And first up is Georgiana, who's got this adorable glass here with the drink. It's filled to the brim. It's got the watermelon umbrella coming out the side, and I love this one so much. I really think this one works well. The color palette chose, number one, just really kind of transports you to a like spring, summertime feel, which of course this time of year with it being cold outside, we could all use a little bit more of, being in the warm summer, spring feeling kind of mood. I love the facial features here, done really well, and just the overall composition and the way that everything's framed works out really nice. The one thing here, kind of the takeaway to use, is we've got the umbrella here that's got this black outline to it, the way that the kind of pole here comes down, get the black outline there, the black outline of the face, but then around the glass itself, she chose to use a white outline, which I think works really well to kind of break it up, and I like the combination of the two. Sometimes using different color outlines kind of doesn't work that well, but I think in this case, that's the takeaway, especially on like a glass like this, having that white works really, really well. I love the fact too that she actually made the outline have some opacity to it, to where you got this kind of bubble back here, this water droplet. You can actually see that through that outline on this side, and I think that is really cool. Plus, just with the bubbles here around it and the circles, those having some opacity there where you can see this background through it works really well in addition. So an absolute great job. I love your signature down here too. It's really, really professional looking, and having the date down there, actually, typed font there is really kind of cool. I like that little touch as well. But yeah, main takeaway here is, try combining some different outline colors and see if it works for your design. I think that is a really cool way to approach this. So fantastic job, Georgiana. Next up is Sal, and Sal's got the Living Dead toaster chasing the piece of toast or bread running here. And of course we got the action lines here, a lot of kind of movement in the design. I love the way that these are drawn here, and then the kind of action lines or the motion lines for the toaster kind of have a different feel to them. So it really kind of makes this guy look like he's running faster. It makes the toaster look like he's doing more of a kind of undead stumble across the page, which I think is cool. The other thing too is the line work on the bread or the toast over here is quite a bit different than the line work over here, and I think because they are two separate types of characters, I think that works really well. You'll see this line work here is really nice, really smooth. We've got a couple of kind of the wrinkled effects lines here, but for the most part, you've got a pretty solid, nice line weight around here. Then we move over to the toaster, which of course is zombified. We've got a lot of really thin line weight around here for the wrinkles, and you can tell that this has kind of that decomposing look to it, which works really well for kind of making a zombie inanimate object come to life, which is a really cool touch. I love here too, seeing the bite taken out of here. So obviously he got to him a little bit. You got the green coming down here, so kind of wonder what's going to happen next. Is he going to turn into a zombie? What's going to happen? I could see this honestly being kind of an animated short film. Just kind of seeing what happens next is kind of fun to think about. That's one of the things here. You know, you've really done a great job if you can take a still frame like this and kind of catch the imagination of your viewer and have them wonder, you know, what's going to happen next in the scene. And I think that Sal did a great job on that today. Of course, the colors too, everything really pops. I love the bright green of the toaster here and just the kind of lighter color of the bread. The expressions are fantastic. And I love too that they are very different. So a lot of times when somebody would have, you know, two similar items in a frame, using expressions or using facial features on an inanimate object, they're going to look a lot alike. And this one, they definitely have their own personalities. So I think that was a tremendous job this week, Sal. So thanks so much for sharing that. Next up, we've got Mel, and Mel has this stocking that's come to life as this kind of Tim Burton-esque worm, and I just love this one so much. Of course, you know, just right after Christmas, and this one submitted the week of Christmas, super topical as far as the time of the year and the holidays, so great job kind of incorporating that into the design. I think that is really cool. Like I said, we got this kind of stocking just takes on this worm kind of look, and I love the way that it's got a really kind of loose sketch work to it. Same thing kind of follows it up here with the ribbons wrapping around and the white lines of the ribbons coming down here. I think that's done really well. In addition, the one thing kind of as a takeaway from this one, we've got, of course, that stark black and white contrast to it, but then Mel used that gray in the background, which I think is really wise, and the way that she did the values of this is really cool too. So we've got this dark gray around the outside, but as you move in towards the center of the main focus of the piece, the values become really light. So like I said, the takeaway from this is play around with the values of your background. If you don't want to do, you know, crazy backgrounds and do a total finished piece in the background, you know, doing something like this, playing around with the values to kind of pop out that main subject matter is definitely a wise way to do that. Just using this lighter white here really kind of draws your eye into the main kind of piece of the canvas. So fantastic job, Mel. Thanks so much for submitting that this week. And next up, we've got, I'm hoping I pronounced it right, Burr. A zombie piece of bacon, and I love this. So number one, just going with that kind of green hue here for the colors, I think it was really cool. You know, a lot of people would probably go with the usual pink or the, you know, the reddish color, and I think the green is cool. It just really kind of drives home that bacon feel. And looking at it right off the bat, you might not tell it's bacon until you get down to the center. So having this lighter shade coming down here really kind of brings home that look of bacon. Having that white kind of fat piece in the center, that marbled look, really drives home the feel of it being a piece of bacon. Love the little bite here taken out with this extra part kind of added in here to give it some depth and some dimension. Just a super cute overall design. Love the face and the mouth and just the overall personality that it has. One thing to kind of take notice of here, we've talked about before in some of the videos, talking about perspective and making sure that even when you're starting to kind of warp, you know, proportions and stuff like that, perspective is something you really got to kind of keep in mind with your designs. I think Burr did a fantastic job of that with this piece. So the way that this is kind of in that 3/4 perspective, the left side here is going to be closer to the viewer. So this hand's going to be closer to the viewer. This foot's going to be closer to the viewer. And he did a fantastic job of putting that in the correct perspective. So this hand's a lot bigger since it is closer. The foot over here, you can see, is a lot bigger than this one. And then as everything moves into the distance, you got a smaller foot, got a smaller hand back here. So the perspective is just on point with this one. And I just love the design. So fantastic job this week, Burr. Next up, we've got Adam, and Adam did this really cute pair. Absolutely love this one. Great personality. I know somebody in the Facebook group had commented on this one and just put giggity. So if you guys are Family Guy fans, you'll kind of get the reference with that. But a really cute design, great way to bring an inanimate object to life with this just fantastic face slapped on this pair. The one thing that I'll talk about here, which we just talked about previously with burrs and the perspective, is one thing to keep in mind as you're starting to do designs. I think eyes might be the easiest way for somebody starting out to kind of keep this fresh in their head and kind of incorporate this into the drawing. So here we've got the perspective as kind of like a 3/4 view. This eye is bigger than this eye. So of course the perspective is shifted and turned a little bit towards that left-hand side. Meaning since this eye's bigger here, everything on this right-hand side should be bigger as well. So what that means is this side is closer to the viewer. This side is going to the background. This is in the foreground. So since this eye's bigger, like I said, everything here should be bigger, but yet this cheek here, let's get on the right layer. This cheek here is a lot bigger than this cheek here. So to kind of fix that and get it in the correct perspective, basically throw this in here. So this cheek should actually come out a little bit further here, and then this cheek would actually be a little bit smaller than this one on this side. So like I said, just to kind of keep it fresh in your mind, if you've got these eyes like this and you know how to do these and stack them on top of each other, since this one's going to be bigger, everything that falls on that same side of that eye is going to be larger as well to kind of keep that perspective in check. But an absolute fantastic job. Just wanted to throw out that little perspective trick on there. But thanks so much for submitting that this week, Adam. And next up, we've got Andy. And Andy's got this pill bottle and says, "Have you taken your happiness?" So this one's super, super cute. Really reminds me of kind of the classic animation. We've got the pie eye design there, kind of, you know, from the older days of animation, think like Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse days. And once again, that's kind of added to with this background. We've got this vignette going on, and then almost this kind of pixelated here, like film grain look that's got the film lines across it too. So that one is really cool. Andy did a great job of kind of making that look like that classic film look. And this one reminds me a lot too of even something newer, Cuphead. If you guys are into video games, I'm sure you've heard of Cuphead. If you aren't into video games, I really just suggest look up Cuphead. It's a video game that came out. It's all hand-drawn animation. It looks like the classic, like I said, the classic animation, Steamboat Willie type of stuff. And it has this really vintage look to it. So that was the first thing I thought about this. And the way that the colors kind of pop on this, having that red against a just very black and gray, black and white kind of color scheme on it, really makes this pop as well and kind of reminds me of that. They've got great colors they use in it. And it's all hand-drawn. It's amazing. It's just something that brings me joy so much. And I love seeing just, you know, people play it and just watching it on screen. It's like watching a cartoon. So even if you're not into video games, look up Cuphead. Just a fantastic feat of animation. So I love to just the have you taken your pill or have you taken your happiness with this pills, and really kind of talks on the whole big pharma type of thing, and having the pills being the de facto go-to for happiness, and definitely a kind of a speaking point on current culture, I think is really smart too. So just an all-around great piece this week. Thanks so much for submitting that, Andy. And next up, we've got Dominic, and Dominic's got this great spray can with the hand reaching out here. Just a fantastic job once again of adding a face to bring home the giving life to an inanimate object. One thing on this I'm not sure of, like with the whole circle here and the hand coming out, I don't know if you just kind of thought that needed something else, and I'm not sure the meaning of having the circle with the hole in the wall or whatever it's supposed to be with the hand coming out. So on stuff like that, and maybe if it has a reason, otherwise I would probably just, you know, brought the brought the arm completely off to the side and not even worried about that. I think it might have been just an attempt to, kind of add something to the piece, which I don't think it really necessarily needs. I think the weight of the piece and the heavy lifting is done by the character face. So a couple things here that I would have done. It's a spray paint can, so just to add a little bit more of, kind of motion and energy and some dynamic additions to it, I probably would have utilized this here and just gone ahead and, had some kind of paint coming out of here. You got, a ton of brushes that you can use to kind of give that spray paint effect. And I think that would have been kind of cool just to have that being sprayed. Even with the finger here, you could have had some action lines, like the fingers pressing down on the can with a little bit smaller line weight. And that kind of could have drove that home to the viewer. So last thing I kind of mention and talk about here, and we've talked about perspective and everything else. And this is what we're going to talk more about anatomy on. And that's going to be with the hand. The hand just really kind of looks off. And I know a lot of people kind of struggle with drawing hands. And I guess the one piece of advice or tip that I'll give you with this is I think hands, even though they are difficult to draw starting out, I think hands are one of those ones that everybody should utilize what they have and the tools that are, pun intended, right at their fingertips. So as you're drawing with your one hand, you have another hand to use as a reference image. So I know a lot of people hop on Google Images and stuff like that to find the perfect reference image. But when you've got a hand, honestly, you've got, another free one here that you can kind of pose and use to get the perfect look. So it's going to take some time, understanding how the hand's formed and kind of the basic fundamentals as far as the building blocks to draw it. But just with this, if I hold my hand kind of in that pose, you'll see here that the way the index finger comes down, it basically comes down at the side here and forms around into the palm and wraps back up around into the thumb. And on this drawing here, the index finger comes in and just kind of stops here, and then the thumb starts down here. So there's really none of that extra part here to kind of make them have that kind of nonstop flow to them, which makes it just look a little off. Even if you're not super good or accustomed to pinpointing anatomy, I think anybody can look at it and just say, well, something's just not right, because we've all got hands. We're all used to seeing what they look like. So that's one thing I would recommend is, like I said, utilize what you've got. With this, I think usually, and I talked about this in a previous video, one of the best ways to draw a hand is kind of starting out with the palm here, and it's almost like a rectangle that you'll draw here. So you get the overall feel of where the palm goes, and then you can kind of start building up the fingers off of that. So here, the other thing you'll see is the way that this index finger comes down, it just kind of stops here as it goes into almost like the wrist and the rest of the arm coming in here. So if you look here, basically what we've got is we've got the index finger coming down into the back of the hand before it goes down into the wrist. So instead of stopping right here and coming down, it's actually going to follow this line back. And here too, you've got a really small wrist, kind of almost like a foreshortening thing going on, which I would probably make that just a little bit thicker. And then just bringing this down and around and following, like I said, just the way that the fingers go and the way it runs down into the thumb. It's probably one of the best bets. And then just building this up off of the palm here. So definitely, like I said, use what you've got at your disposal. Just even if you don't feel comfortable holding your hand there, if you're using digital like this, one of the tips and tricks that you can do too is if you've got an iPad or a tablet, grab out your cell phone and just take a quick picture of it. Send that picture. If you got an iPhone and an iPad, do AirDrop, or if you're using something else, you can just email it to yourself, and then you can bring that picture actually in here to your canvas, kind of drop the opacity, and just start to kind of build up the shapes and play around to see exactly how the anatomy of the hand is formed. So, but a fantastic job, Dominic. Thanks so much for submitting that this week. And last but not least, we've got Carl, and Carl's got probably the scariest toilet you've ever seen in your life. Sit on Me. So I love this one because kind of incorporates a real world photograph with some digital art, and this one just really works. I love it. It's kind of deranged, it's kind of disturbing, but I think that's one of the kind of quirks that makes it work. Love, speaking of hands, the hands here are just really, really well done. I love the kind of thin wrists and thin arms that just come into these massive hands, and the kind of wrinkles here to give the creases some merit in the hands, and the way they're drawn work really well, and the extra lines here kind of just build up a really fun texture across it. I like too the way that you went and around the outer edge kind of did this heavy black outline to make it seem like even though the toilet is part of the photograph, it still ties in really well with that outline to the rest of the hand-drawn parts, and I think that works really, really well. I love the teeth and the tongue and the way that these white lines just kind of draw your eye down into the back of the mouth. I think that's a lot of fun as well. One thing here that I noticed, you've got like a lot of shadows, like natural shadows in the design or the photograph itself. So the real world photograph, you got, you know, shadows here. This is probably from where the picture was taken. You've got some pretty heavy shadows here. You've got some shadows here underneath the toilet seat. So one thing that I would recommend combining photos like this just to kind of make that combination of the digital and the real world mesh even more is use that lighting and incorporate it into the piece itself. So like the tongue here, I think it would have been cool to, you know, do some kind of shadow work down here to make this tongue kind of have that same light source as the rest of the photo. We'll drop the opacity of this and you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. But just kind of matching up the shadows there, I think that would be really fun to just kind of make this look even more like it's taking up real world space. I think that would be fun. And then the other thing, the way that the arms come in here, you've got the outline broken up. It doesn't actually come in across this part, but yet you can still see the line between, you know, the color difference of these two. So one thing there, I don't know, you know, just choosing like a more accurate color here, or even I think it just blending this maybe a little bit to where you don't have that harsh line across there. Just doing something like that to where it looks like it just bleeds in kind of seamlessly instead of having that line. That's the other thing that I would have probably done. But just fantastic job. Like I said, a little bit disturbing, a little bit wrong, but I love it. So that one was Carl's for this week. And those are the designs this week for bringing an inanimate object to life. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Special thanks goes out to everyone that submitted designs again this week. Love seeing the creativity week in and week out. You guys bring me so much joy, so thanks again. Also, if you liked today's video too, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so you can get alerted when I post new videos. And if you are new to the channel and want to take part in these challenges, here is how. All you have to do is hop on over to Facebook and join the Keep Creating a Learn, Draw, Share Art community. I will link it in the description below. Share your designs based on these weekly prompts. But it doesn't stop there. If you don't want to share the prompt designs and you just want to share your artwork, we want to see that too. So it doesn't matter if it's traditional, if it's digital, share it away. If it's finger painting, show us that. We want to see what you guys create. So do that over there. But I know not everybody has Facebook. So if you don't have Facebook and still want to participate, you can email them to me. Go to bjdell.com. Use the contact form over there to send in your design. Or you can also tag me online on Instagram and Twitter at bjdell and show off your work. So the way it works, this week's a little bit different because Christmas was on a Wednesday, so we're a day late. But usually I do one of these videos on Wednesday, and you've got from Wednesday until the following Tuesday to submit your design based on that week's prompt. And then I give you the prompt at the end of the video, which we're to now, and then I do the new video the following Wednesday. So this week's word prompt is, what is your New Year's resolution? So New Year's resolution, that's the prompt. Let's see what you guys can come up with. This one's going to be a little bit crazy because it's not something specific, so there's going to be a lot of interpretations on this, and I think these are some of the most fun ones to see when it's not just an exact object to draw and we get to see kind of inside your mind. So that's it for this week. You've got from today until the following Tuesday, and then I do next week's video on Wednesday. So that's it for today's video. I can be found online once again, bjdell.com, and Instagram and Twitter at bjdell. So until next time, keep creating.